LETTER the 27th of Life in Mexico. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Life in Mexico by Francis Calderón de la Barca. LETTER the 27th. Fête Day. Friendly hint. Precautions. General tranquillity. President in San Agustin. Revisit museum. Ancient manuscripts. Sculpture. Bronze bust, etc. Freshness after rain. Ball at the French minister's. Pamphlet. Gutierrez Estrada. His character. Concealment. Mexicalcingo. Minister of the Treasury. Archbishop's permission. Paintings. Mexican painters. Santa Teresa. Description of the interior. The penitences. The tortures, disciplines, etc. Supper. Profane ballads. Monasteries. San Francisco. Padre Prior. Soldiers and friars. October 3rd. Yesterday, being C.N.'s fête day, we had a dinner and small soirée, and according to custom, visits the whole day. A very agreeable guest from Havana, Don J. A., arrived to spend a few weeks with us. We had rather a pleasant party and some good singing, but just as dancing had begun, C.N. took me aside and showed me a little friendly note which he had received while at dinner from General , in which he informs him that the robbers would in all probability attack our respective houses that night; that he had taken his precautions, and advises C.N. to do the same, in the understanding that, if necessary, they should mutually assist each other. A pleasant piece of intelligence! The thing got whispered about, and some of the ladies looked a little blank at the information, but there could be no risk while so many persons were collected. About one they went away, and C.N. sent for some soldiers to keep watch all night. Nothing happened, as no doubt the robbers found out what precautions had been taken. The intended attack had been discovered by a servant of the general's, who heard them discussing the matter in the back room of a pulque shop. We have been obliged to procure 2 old soldiers as porters, in lieu of the 2 who were shot in the Revolution, for though not killed, they are entirely disabled for the present. Mexico appears particularly quiet just now, and whatever storms may be preparing, no symptoms are visible to the uninitiated eye. The palace has got in its glass eyes again, and externally is almost entirely repaired, but it is not yet fit for the residence of the president, who still holds his court in the convent of San Agustin. I have been driving about with our Havana friend, like an old resident showing the beauties of Mexico to a stranger. We have been in the Mineria, Museum, Botanical Garden, Biscay College, etc., all of which can bear revision. The museum especially, which, owing to the want of arrangement and classification in the antiquities, and the manner in which they are crowded together in the different rooms of the university, appears at first undeserving of much attention, improves upon acquaintance. It is only since the year '25 that it was established by the government, and various plans have been since made for enriching and arranging it, and also for transporting it to the old building of the Inquisition. But as yet nothing essential has been carried into effect. It contains upwards of 200 historical manuscripts, some in hieroglyphical characters anterior to the Conquest, and many in the different ancient languages of the country. Of the ancient sculpture it possesses 2 colossal statues and many smaller ones, besides a variety of busts, heads, figures of animals, masks, and instruments of music or of war, curiously engraved, and indicating the different degrees of civilization of the different nations to whom they belonged. A great many of the vases of Tecal and of the candlesticks in clay, curiously worked, were drawn from excavations in the Isle of Sacrifices near Vera Cruz, from Oaxaca, etc., and from the suburbs of Mexico. There is also a collection of very ancient medals to the number of 600, a bronze bust of Philip V, and about 200 Mexican paintings, comprehending two collections of the portraits of the Spanish viceroys, many of the celebrated Cabreras, and various dresses, arms, and utensils from both the Californias. In the cabinet of natural history there is a good collection of minerals, and some very fine specimens of gold and silver. But in the animal or vegetable branch of natural history there is a great deficiency, and altogether the museum is not worthy of a country which seems destined by nature to be the great emporium of all natural science. Of course we have revisited old Chapultepec and Our Lady of Guadalupe, with her legend and holy well. In the morning we have rode to Tacubaya and the environs, and the weather at that early hour has the most indescribable freshness, caused by the evening rains. Everything looks bright and sparkling. The Peruvian trees, with their bending green branches and bunches of scarlet berries, glitter with the heavy raindrops, and even the hoary cypresses of Chapultepec sparkle with water in all their gigantic branches. Little pools have become ponds, and ditches rivulets, and frequently it is rather wading than riding, which is not so pleasant. 24th. Last evening we had a very pretty ball in the house of the French Minister, where all the Paris furniture was very effective. There were, as usual, plenty of diamonds, and some handsome dresses. Mine, white satin with flowers. 25th. The whole world is talking of a pamphlet written by Señor Gutierrez Estrada, which has just appeared, and seems likely to cause a greater sensation in Mexico than the discovery of the gunpowder plot in England. Its sum and substance is the proposal of a constitutional monarchy in Mexico, with a foreign prince, not named, as its head, as the only remedy for the evils by which it is afflicted. The pamphlet is written merely in a speculative form, inculcating no sanguinary measures or sudden revolution, but the consequences are likely to be most disastrous to the fearless and public-spirited author. Even those who most question his prudence in taking this step agree that in this, as well as in every other political action of his life, he has acted from thorough conviction and from motives of the purest patriotism, unalloyed by one personal feeling. Indeed, entirely throwing behind him every consideration of personal or family interest, which even the best men allowed to have some weight with them on such occasions. In a political review of Mexico, written some years ago by a Mexican who deals fearlessly, and it would seem impartially, with the characters of all the leading men of that period, I find some remarks on Señor Gutierrez Estrada which you will place more faith in, as coming from a less partial source than from persons so attached as we are to him and his family. In speaking of the conduct of the administration, he says, "Señor Gutierrez Estrada was one of the few who remained firm in his ideas, and above all, true to his political engagements. This citizen is a native of the state of Yucatan, where his family, who are distinguished in every point of view, reside." It is unnecessary to say that Gutierrez received a thorough and brilliant education, as it is sufficient to have conversed with him to discover this fact, nor that he knew how to turn it to account in the career of public service to which he devoted himself, and in which he has remained pure and unblemished in the midst of a corrupt class. From the first he was destined to the European legations on account of his fluency in speaking and writing both English and French, and he is one of the few who have employed their time usefully in the capitals of the Old World. Flexible by nature, honourable by education, and expeditious in business, his services have been perfect, and above all, loyal and conscientious. He goes on to say that, notwithstanding the gentleness of his temper, his political conscience is so firm and pure that he will never yield in what he considers his obligation, even when it interferes with the most intimate friendships or most weighty considerations. One would think that the writer had foreseen the present emergency. I have not yet read the pamphlet which the friends of the author